leaving. So I think you in the media, you are also hyping this leaving. The only party where people are leaving and making it very clear, I think, is the FDC. We call upon our members who are uncomfortable to rethink their decision to leave, because DP invested a lot in them. DP has made a difference in their politics, and the constitution of DP is there, and there should be no excuse for them to say they want to leave simply because they disagree with Norbert Mao. I think their disagreement is rather with the DP constitution. So I would appeal to all DP members. Home is best. East or west, home is best. And wherever you are going, you are also going to find problems. You know, there is a certain tribe, I think they live in the Ituri forests of Congo. When a person dies in the village, they all shift. They leave the village, thinking that that village has death. So they go to another village. When another person dies, they keep moving. So they move like that endlessly, not knowing that actually, when a person dies, you bury the person and life goes on. So those who think where they are going they will not find problems may actually find that there are bigger problems where they are going. So I call upon them to have the courage to stand and remain in the party so that together we seek common ground.
They say that efforts to reconcile in the party have hit a dead end. For example, we saw recently in the NRM, the so-called rebel MPs went back to His Excellency the President, their chairman. They talked and they reconciled. So what has gone wrong?
I think the one with the NRM is more about food. The chairman of NRM has money to give. I don't have any money to give. Probably if I had money to give, they would also come and apologize to me, knowing that I'll fund their campaigns and so on. I don't have that. All I have are my principles and my vision for a better Uganda, which many of them don't share. More importantly, I don't think there's any principal disagreement between those complaining in DP and me. I would call them rebels without a cause. Even those of NRM, they are rebels without a cause. They were only complaining because probably they wanted to have their way to go back to parliament. That is the same thing I see. I would really respect some of the DP MPs if one of them stood up and said, well, I'm not going to seek another term in parliament, but I oppose Norbert Mao on these issues on principle. I would really respect such a person. The reason why they are running around like headless chicken is because all they want is to go back to parliament and continue earning the fat salary. That is what the issue is about. The other thing is that many of them want to form personal alliances, and some of them are unhappy that I've insisted that DP should have a presidential candidate. They think DP shouldn't have a right to have a presidential candidate. It is nonsensical to form a party and then say the party shouldn't have a presidential candidate. Why buy a car and then you say the car will not participate in a motor rally if it is a racing car? Why have a football team and then you say the football team will never file to participate in competitions? I think I have listened to them to try and find out whether there is any principle behind their noise. I have found none. So if you are talking about reconciliation, I have done everything possible. I initiated and supported fully the reunion of the Democratic Party. Instead, many of them started conspiring against me. If truly they were working for change in Uganda, they should be thinking big. I think many of them are very small-minded. They are thinking only of winning back their seats, and after the next elections, the noise will be going down. The current noise is just about the party flag to participate in elections. It is an event which happens every 5 years in DP, and it will keep happening because until we get leaders who are selfless and who think beyond themselves.
Some of them, they might not get the party card from you, like an endorsement to run on your ticket because they have disagreements. What should they do in your opinion in order for them to acquire that card and maybe run on the party ticket of DP?
Any member of DP who has been disciplined and who has been a faithful member of the party should have no such fear. The reason they have that fear is because they have spent all their time insulting party leaders and demonizing the party. So it is true that they should have that fear, and they are a bad example to young people. Nevertheless, DP is not my private property. I'm not the one who gives out party flags. In the DP, anybody who wants to run for parliament applies to the National Executive Committee. And the National Executive Committee shall vet the candidatures. And if there is more than one candidate, the names will be sent to the constituency delegates to choose the candidate to contest on the party ticket for that constituency. So where does Norbert Mao fall in the picture? I'm basically just...
Maybe you're influencing the committee that will vet them to give them the party.
I don't deny that I'm influential in DP, but my influence is a positive influence because I want DP to have the best. I have never stepped forward to even threaten that anybody should not apply. All of us will apply. I'm also not a sole candidate. As president of the party, as we plan to go to the delegates conference, I will also apply. In fact, in DP, the first primary election is the election of the president of the party, because in DP, the president of the party is the presidential candidate. Now, let me clear the air on what you have just told me about the DP block. The DP block is based on a memorandum of understanding signed by DP, by SDP, which is the Social Democratic Party led by Michael Mavike, and the PDP, People's Development Party, led by Dr. Abed Bwanika. That's the DP block. So DP block minus Mao cannot be called DP block. And it is called DP block because it is subject to the DP constitution. So the misleading announcement that DP block has endorsed Honorable Robert Chagulanyi is even contrary to the MOU, because it is the organs of DP that should make that pronouncement. I would advise anybody who wants DP to do such a thing to bring a proper motion to either the National Executive Committee or even to the National Delegates Conference for it to be debated. But if individuals want to endorse a candidate who is not a DP, that's their right. But it will mean that they have parted ways with the DP. Let there be no confusion about that.
Okay. So, what are the arrangements? Because we are seeing other parties picking cards, they are arranging to elect new party presidents and maybe flag bearers. What is happening in DP currently? What is your roadmap like?
COVID-19 disrupted our grassroots processes, but our focus was to elect leaders at the branches and sub-branches, namely from the village up to the district level. As I talk now, we have accomplished that to about 75%. That has been our focus. The candidates come from the members. Secondly, we have announced as of Tuesday that for the next 2 weeks, we expect the branches to call for applications for local government positions. So that is going on. Kampala is already receiving applications, and I believe in another couple of weeks, we shall be inviting applications for parliamentary candidates. And then when we hold our delegates conference, those who want to vie for the presidency of Uganda by standing for president of DP will also be invited to apply. We shall also elect the National Executive Committee. Those are processes that are within our constitution. DP does not first look at what other parties are doing, then it decides what to do. Remember, DP is 65 years old, so we know what to do. But because Uganda is driven by sensational media reports, so everybody now says, others are picking forms, why are you not? It's like you young people, if they find you are 25 and you are not married, and they say, your colleagues are wedding, when are you wedding? Why should you subject yourself to the pressure of others? You must have your own timetable. So as DP, we have our own timetable. Let them wait and see whether we shall not field candidates. We are going to appear before the Electoral Commission to present a presidential candidate, to present hundreds of parliamentary candidates, to present thousands of local government council candidates. We are in a position to do that because we have got members who are qualified. And by the way, while people are talking about people leaving the party, I'm pleased to announce to you that very qualified people are joining the party. Today I woke up and was pleasantly surprised to be informed that 2 doctors, one a medical doctor and one a PhD, who is a lecturer in Makerere, have been elected to the Executive Committee of Chotera County, DP. Now, that is the quality we want in DP. So, perhaps the exit of some people is now giving hope that finally the party is going back to its true roots as a party of ideas, as a party of serious people. And that's the kind of DP I joined. Mark you, I joined DP because I was attracted by the quality of people in DP. So I believe that for every strong person who is leaving for whatever reason, we are going to build 100 strong people.
People are asking, why don't we also work to maintain the quality of people within DP so that they don't walk away to other parties? Because we need a strong DP so that we have a strong presidential candidate to...
Politicians are naturally selfish, and you cannot stop people from leaving. And people leave. Didn't Amama Mbabazi leave the NRM?
He left, but he's now, it seems that...
No, I think let us be objective. He left. That's the most important thing. Didn't Miriam Matembe leave?
Yeah, he left.
Didn't Amanya Mushega leave? Hasn't Tumukunde left? So I think it is very unfair for you people to focus on DP. You should know that politics is like a marketplace. People move. Even you people in the media. The other day I saw Maurice Mugisha left NTV. Was there a funeral for him at NTV?
No.
Tomorrow you will leave UBC and go somewhere. Will there be a funeral here for you? So I think it is a natural law that people will always go where they feel they are most comfortable. And it is okay. We must get used to it. It is okay. But I call upon the media to be objective. I think DP is treated very unfairly by the media. For instance, when people are talking about those who have crossed to join the ruling party, they focus on DP. They don't talk about people like Beatrice Anywa, who left FDC to go to NRM. They don't talk about Ambassador Michael Chula, who is deployed in Cairo. But they always talk about Nachiwala, they talk about Kezala. That's extremely unfair. And I think
because
the media...
they love the party.
No, I think the media should be ashamed of its bias against DP. I would love a media that is objective. Namely, for every person who leaves DP, also talk about a person of equal stature who has left. Because it is normal. As you know, Donald Trump was in the Democratic Party of America. Then he left and joined the Republican Party. It is not a big deal. Even Ronald Reagan was a Democrat, then he became a Republican. It's not a big deal. Churchill, who became a great prime minister in the Conservative Party, started off in the Liberal Party. So, let us just accept that people reach a point when they want to find another home. And it is okay. This is not a matter of life and death. DP is not a prison.
Are we seeing a single candidate for the opposition come 2021?
I don't think you should say a single candidate. I think we should say, are we seeing single candidates? I think we as DP, no one will ever blame us for not investing enough in uniting the opposition. We came up with the Grand People's Coalition framework, where we proposed what we call the one-to-one model, one candidate to face the NRM at every level. Unfortunately, in Uganda, it seems whoever wants a coalition believes that the coalition should be to support him or her. And that is not the spirit of a coalition. I still have a faint hope that it may be possible for us to close ranks. It depends on what others think. I cannot unite with myself. I must unite with others. If possible, we shall move as a united front. If necessary, each party will field its own candidates and Ugandans will decide. Unfortunately, that will be sad because most Ugandans would prefer to have a clear choice between those who support the incumbent regime and those who want change.
Currently, we have already seen some political parties endorsing Honorable Robert Chagulanyi. For example, we saw Jema the other time endorsed Robert Chagulanyi. We saw some members from DP said for us we are rallying behind Robert Chagulanyi, and others that have been moved by this wave of people power. Do you think, don't you think Robert Chagulanyi is taking over, like among you political parties, is taking over that momentum from the opposition? Like people are seeing Robert Chagulanyi as someone who can take on Museveni.
It's good for him. I think any politician would want to be perceived as the one who can score that golden goal. Some of us are not very young. In 2001, we were told that only a soldier can remove Museveni. And therefore, DP was discouraged from presenting a presidential candidate in 2001. We were told that we finally have President Museveni's former doctor, a military man who knows him in and out. Unfortunately, it did not happen. In 2016, many of us thought that the former Secretary General of the NRM and former Prime Minister and a very close confidant of President Museveni was capable of taking on his former boss and removing him. Now, that is not a distinctly Ugandan thing. In Tanzania, a former Prime Minister called Edward Lowassa was recruited from the ruling party by Chadema, the opposition party, and they fielded him as a joint opposition candidate under a coalition known as Okawa. He did fairly well, but he did not defeat the CCM. So in those circumstances, I withhold my judgment, because I've seen enough crowds in Uganda to know that it takes more to translate crowds into votes. I am impressed by the impact that Honorable Kyagulanyi has had on the Ugandan political scene. He has brought his star power into politics. He has awakened up many young people who had become indifferent to politics, and potentially that can close the gap with which Museveni has been winning, which is about 2 million votes. All we need is to add 2 to 3 million extra votes, and to ensure that there is a higher voter turnout. So his performance is obviously very impressive. Now, it's not for me to say whether it is enough to win, because to win you need more than 50%. And in an environment like Uganda, where we have an electoral commission that lacks independence, where many times the security forces interfere with the elections, and where there's a lot of bribery from all corners, there are distortions. So you never actually know a candidate's true weight in an election, because the situation is abnormal. But I believe Honorable Kyagulanyi is within his rights to step forward, and I'm happy he has stepped forward, because this is a struggle for the Ugandan people. It is not my struggle, it is not Colonel Besige's struggle, it is not Robert Kyagulanyi's struggle, it is not General Muntu's struggle, it is a struggle of the Ugandan people. And DP has been in this struggle since 1954, and we have never pretended that it is our struggle. It is a struggle of the Ugandan people, and that struggle requires leadership. Mark my words, not a leader, but leadership. It requires leadership. So the challenge is for those who want change to come together and form the team. And after forming the team, then they can choose the team captain. Unfortunately, people want to do it in the reverse way. They want first to appoint the captain, then look for the team, which I think is not how you build a team. You first build a team, and among the team, you choose the team captain.
We are in an abnormal situation, like you said. COVID-19 has disrupted everything. How do you see these scientific campaigns going to affect, going to impact on the electoral democracy in this forthcoming election? Do you see political parties, having that representation, that going out to the public, and how do you see that?
I'm concerned that the Electoral Commission has abused its discretion. The Electoral Commission, in certain circumstances, can restrict campaigns. But I do not think the Electoral Commission has the right to undermine the rights that are guaranteed in the Constitution, namely freedom of assembly. For the Electoral Commission to say no mass rallies, that is illegal. Now, the scientific campaigns are likely to be subject to multiple interpretations. Imagine an LDU defining what a scientific campaign is. I'm afraid that opponents of candidates will go and report their colleagues to the police, saying so and so is holding a rally when he has a meeting of 20 people in his home. So people are likely to abuse that law. It is important that we come up with a very clear code of conduct. It is important that the Ministry of Health issues the number the maximum number that can gather at a particular venue, whether it is 100, whether it is 200. I understand the NUP held a delegates conference of 200 people. I never saw any pictures, but I hope they will send us some pictures so that we can see how they sat in their scientific delegates conference while observing the SOPs of COVID. The lack of clarity is a problem. Incumbents are also going to enjoy unqualified advantages. Their faces are known, their voices are known, they enjoy name recognition. This scientific election comes with a lot of disadvantages for new entrants. Usually it is through rallies that new people introduce themselves. I imagine as a young man of 28, when I first stood to come to Parliament, if we had a scientific campaign, nobody would have known who I was, because they would have to depend on WhatsApp, they would have to depend on Facebook and Twitter and maybe radio adverts. So it is going to be uphill for new entrants. It is also going to be very expensive. Contrary to what people are saying that it's going to be cheaper, I foresee more cases of bribery, because people are now going to invest in what we call pay-as-you-go politics, cash for votes. Since there are no rallies, but the cash for votes will also be driven by the despondency of the voters. Many voters have reached a conclusion that it doesn't matter who you vote, your life is not going to change. So you may as well get whatever you can from the candidates before they abandon you, and then you wait for them 5 years later. So if candidates who win go into elective office convinced that they have paid cash for each vote they got, they will not work for the population. Instead, they will work to repay themselves. Some people go to money lenders, they borrow 500 million, and the first 2 years they are basically working to repay the money lender. Then 1 year they are working for themselves. Then the remaining 2 years they are saving for the next campaign. And that's why MPs who lose elections, they never recover. You find them on borders, you hear their houses are being auctioned, because the monetization of politics is driven from two sides. A discouraged population that fears that they will not be served, so they may as well grab whatever they can. We call it electropreneurship. And then on the other side, elected leaders who feel that they don't owe the electorate anything. After all, they paid cash. That system needs to be cleaned up through a code of conduct and through the penalization of those who bribe voters. I think those who are found guilty of bribery should be banned from contesting for election for a minimum of 10 years. That will send a clear message that there's a price to pay. But now, the Electoral Commission can even find a candidate guilty of voter bribery, but still they don't penalize the candidate. In the next election, some people who were thrown out of parliament for bribery will come back and contest, and they'll probably win. So this appeal of mine goes to all parties, the ruling party and the parties in the opposition. We must clean up the tournament of politics.
Lastly, your message to members in DP and those seeking to join DP generally, what message do you have for them as we head to the polls?
I want to let the members of DP know that DP was founded for a reason, not a season. And there will be life beyond 2021. DP is not just about the next election. DP is about the future of Uganda long term. DP is about grooming leaders. DP is about putting in Uganda a government whose foundation is truth and justice. I invite all those who wish to see a peaceful Uganda, a united Uganda, a prosperous Uganda, a democratic Uganda, to join DP. DP is led by me, who is a tested leader. I started my leadership as a student in Makerere in 1990. I've been in the field of politics now for over 30 years. Sometimes people think I'm President Museveni's age mate. When they are talking about the old leaders should go, I'm also included among those who should go. I want to tell Ugandans, I'm not part of that generation. I belong to the generation born in the 60s and 70s. President Museveni and his team belongs to the generation born in the 40s and 50s. And behind us, there is the Chagulanyi generation born in the 80s and 90s. And behind them, there's the generation born after the year 2000. Our generation is the most educated. We have the best qualifications. And our duty now is to be the bridge between the Museveni generation and the Chagulanyi generation. A bridge may be the smallest part of the road, but it is indispensable. I call upon Uganda not to ignore my generation, which is the bridge that can take you to a better future. Do not just try to jump across the river. Use us. We are the bridge, because we are the ones who suffered most under Idi Amin. We suffered when the Luwero War was going on, and we came of age just as Museveni was coming into power. We have become middle-aged under this NRM. Do not dump our experience. Uganda needs our experience so that it can have a better future.
Okay. You've talked about the ages. What's your take on that?
I would like to warn those who talk like that is that we are not contesting against Museveni. We are contesting against the Ugandan state. And the Ugandan state is not a weak state. The machine that we are contesting against is the state machinery, which includes the entire LC1 and LC2 structure, the entire family of intelligence community, village internal security organization officers, the parish intelligence officers, the GISOs and DISOs, the RDCs, and operatives and informers and LDUs, patriotism clubs, and that is what we are, the machine we are confronting. So anybody who just looks at an old man who they think is weak and they think that's the one they are contesting against is mistaken. Our true opponent is the Ugandan state. Secondly, of course we are contesting against a man who looms large in the psyche of Ugandans. There is a mindset in Uganda now called Musevenism. The other day I heard the FDC candidate for Kampala Woman MP seat, Dr. Stella Nyanzi. She was speaking passionately. Excuse me. Dr. Stella Nyanzi, after her nomination as a FDC candidate for Kampala Woman MP, spoke passionately how she will represent the people of Kampala in Parliament. And she said, I am going to tell off Museveni when I go to Parliament. And I asked myself, I thought Museveni is going after the next election. So in the mind of most people, the man is not going. And I hear that among many of those contesting for Parliament, that send me to Parliament, I'm the one who can manage Museveni. But I thought The whole mission 2021 is to evict Museveni from State House. So if you are still going to find him there, then what is the purpose of the mission 2021?
Yeah.
I find that to be what I would call a mindset of Musevenism. So the mindset is that this man, only God can take him away. Nevertheless, the answer is in organization. People are focused. They think they can get some messiah who can remove Museveni. I don't buy that. It has never happened. Everything has got to be based on organization. If we are organized, it will not matter who our flag bearer is. The Kenyans did it when they wanted to confront Moi's regime and the KANU party machine. Because they were organized as the National Rainbow Coalition, they chose Kibaki. Kibaki wasn't even the most fiery speaker. He was not even the biggest crowd puller. There were people like Raila Odinga, there were people like Kenneth Matiba, there were people like Charity Ngilu, there were people like Martha Karua, but they chose Mwai Kibaki. Because behind Mwai Kibaki, there was a strong organization. So if we really want change, we should invest more in the organization rather than thinking that it is like those Philistines who thought Goliath would win for them the war. So in order to win, to defeat Goliath, David did not have to become a Goliath. Now in the Ugandan opposition, we think that if we see Goliath the other side, then we also say, who is our Goliath?
That's right.
We actually don't need a Goliath to defeat Goliath. What we need is faith in the Ugandan people and a superior organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mao.